So in 17.1, you worked with angles of rotation. So our first 10 questions are going to ask you to come up with the value of the angle after so many rotations in what direction. And then the last 10 questions are going to ask you, here's the angle, what does the graph look like? And it is a unique, specific graph. Remember from 17.1, our angles of rotation, they had direction. So if you go under the x-axis to start with, a full 360 degrees around, you'll end up back at the x-axis again. That's the negative direction. I used counterclockwise and clockwise this morning, and I just got myself all confused. So I'm just going to say if you go under the x-axis, that is the negative direction. That, fortunately, my fourth period had to suffer my pioneer because I hadn't shown this assessment practice yet. So that's, when it was all said and done, that to me made the best visual. And once around the circle is 360 degrees. Okay? So just grab a different color and you go another rotation under the x-axis first till you hit the x-axis again. That's another 360 degrees. So I'm using colored pencils to show you what my brain sees. And then you can choose to use, you know, as much support as you need when we get all done with this thing. Okay, a third color. I'm only going to go 180 degrees in the under the x-axis because I can't go a full circle again. So that's what's left is, if I went half a circle, that's 180 degrees, but I only go part of this, and they don't tell me what that angle is. They tell me what's left over. So I take my 180 degree move and take away the 35 degree. That's a reference angle there, and that will tell me my last negative move. So it's, 145. So it's a negative 145 degrees. That's a lot, right? So you just add up the negative numbers, and 720, 820, 1045. Now, have your calculator handy. We didn't have to decide if it was negative or positive from the answers because they were all negative answers. So, you know, it's just this example. Who knows what they'll have on the test? A mix of whatever. You might have a positive answer and a negative answer that have the same numbers. You got to get a hold of the direction. Okay? Questions, comments, thoughts? Make sense? Okay, rotation angles. So start under, that's a negative. So until you hit the x-axis again. These first, I think 5 are degrees, and then I'll get into the radians. I go around once more. Yep. And then what's left over, instead of going, taking it away from 180, it just hits the corner here. So if I take 90, minus 20, then that'll tell me what's left here, which is a negative 70 degrees, because that's the direction it's going. We just take the difference because that's a 90 degree complete, you know, a quarter of a rotation. So add those up, 720 and 70 is 790. So you'll always be, all your numbers will be negative or all your numbers will be positive, right? You never change directions on angles of rotation. That's a good thing to know. Now we're going over. So this is a positive 360. I'll emphasize that because we went over the x-axis first. I went another 180. And then I'm just going a little more. If you notice, just a little past the x-axis, and they gave us the leftovers was 85. So if I take 90 minus 85, I'll find out what this reference angle is. The reference angle is always less than 90, and it's whatever's next to the x-axis. That's the reference angle. So I've got 5, 4, carry the 1, 5. That was just this little sneeze here, and it makes complete sense, thankfully. Once around the block, I'm going under, so it's a negative. So that means B is out of the game. If I go under, I won't have a positive result. So, excuse me, that rotation is 360 degrees. My next rotation is 180 degrees. And then my last one is, they gave us this one, 60, because that was the reference angle. They're all negative because I'm going under. So 0, 14, 0, carry the 1. Okay, that carried the 2, so there's the 20. There we go. That looks like a negative 600 degrees. Sure. You know, and you get, your brain is seeing everything right now. Everything in the universe has to offer. And then as you grow through your academics, you'll wean out what's not necessary and then hang on to what's necessary and show up for the party. Right. And going over the x-axis first, so that's a positive 360 degrees. Okay, they don't give us this section, this angle, but if I take it, they gave us the, actually that, they just gave us that angle. They didn't give us the reference angle. They're going to make us work for the angle. So I take 180 minus 110, so I get 70 degrees left over. Since I went over, I know it's a positive 430 degrees. Ready? Okay, now we're with the pi. The pi's, the pi's, the pi's. So your work in a complete rotation is 2 pi. Whoops, over here. 2 pi and 360 degrees are equivalent. Or you can like convert it to a degree and then go back to radian. I don't know if it's worth it or not. If you know the rotation is 2 pi, I made an error this morning. I'll tell you what happened when I reach it, but it's easy to mess up because we're not used to measuring in 2 pi. But the rotation, instead of writing 360 degrees, I write 2 pi. Next rotation, 2 more pi. Let's see, I went over my x-axis first, so that would be a positive angle. And then, here's where I made my mistake. Well, not quite, okay. This one is just 1 pi. I got that right. Because it's only half a circle. How do you know that? Remember, 180 degrees is just 1 pi. Okay, so I have to find out what this leftover is here. This guy. So what I mistakenly took away, I took 2 pi minus 5 pi over 12, and it's just 1 pi, because it's just half of a circle. So if I take 1 pi minus 5 pi over 12, this is 12 minus 5 is 7 pi over 12. And don't be afraid to use your calculator as you go along your merry way. Believe it or not. So that's 5 pi plus 7 pi over 12. So do a little in my head and a little on the calculator. Okay. Oh. 7 pi over 12. Now, I made my mistake. Thankfully, a student caught it and told me what I'd done wrong. And then I would have known I was wrong because I didn't find any of those answers. So that was good. So half a circle is pi, a whole circle is 2 pi. So I don't think on these 5 problems it's worth it to change it back 2 degrees again. You might see there is a problem where you would want to do that, but we'll talk about that when we get there as well. Okay, you can color as, I'm going to keep coloring, but if you don't have to color, you can just write it with your, take the twirl, write it with your pencil, etc. So I'm just going to, I'm going under, so it's negative. They're all negative answers, that's good. So I went a negative 2 pi. Okay, this I can't go all the way around again, so I'm gonna. This is what I messed up on too. All the way around again is 1 pi negative. Just halfway around again, and then I got to figure out what part of pi is left when I take away pi over 6. So that's 5 pi over 6. Oh, can't see it, sorry. So it's 3 pi. They're all negative directions. So I see there's only one answer with a 6, but be careful. If it reduces, it won't give you the right answer. So I have 3 pi plus 5 pi over 6. Negative. There it is. And used to the pi thing, I hope. Remember, ring around the rosy is 2 pi. And then one more time. 2 more pi. One complete rotation is from the x-axis to the x-axis. And I'm going positive. And then they gave me my last part of a rotation, pi over 4. So that's 4 pi 16 plus 1 is 17, pi over 4. Good and good practice, for sure. This one's going over the x-axis first, so that would be positive, so A's out of the game. So positive 2 pi. This little guy, part of pi, so I have to take the difference. So that would be 5 pi over 9. add those two, and that is 18/23 pi over 9. Okay, last one for this game. Or you had to draw or you had to find the angle that's been drawn. So I'm only going to go a pi, and I'm going to add pi plus 4. Oops. So that gives me the 4 pi plus 1 pi is 5 pi over 4. There we go. And your, unit circle would verify that, right? There it is, right there. Not all, obviously, angles are on here, but that one was. That's a good affirmation. This is your piece of gold for your final and your homeworks. Okay, so now we want to draw, and I suggest you draw it. Instead of looking at the choices, I suggest you draw it. Those arrows are really hard to see. The only thing you could do is eliminate the ones that are going under the x-axis first. Like that one's going over, that one's going over. You see how C is going under? I'm going to go ahead and use my pencil, okay, to eliminate that. And D is going under. See that game there? You're going under the x-axis first, so it's not going in the right direction. So this is positive. So if I go 360 degrees, right, what's left? Remember how you find those coterminal angles? I'll have to go 135 more. So here's 90. And 45, right like that. So I'm going to look for a graph that looks like that. Looks like it's A. It's kind of nice. You see exactly where the angle terminates. Could you draw that without me? Sure. I think you had to pick the graph in 17.1. That matched the angle given. This is where, if I give you radians, you might want to change it back to angles just so it makes more sense to you. Your brain's not quite used to radians yet. You get deep dive on that one in the trigonometry chapter as well as the trigonometry class. All right, so this guy has to go under the x-axis first. So A is good, B is out, C is good, D is good. So that is, we just have to march around, have to take our rotations. So if I go under, that would be 360. See what's left? 190. So that means I can go 180 more. That leaves me 10 degrees left. So just a freckle above the x-axis. C and D don't have the same terminal. Ooh, I can't see my map, sorry. Okay. (365 degrees is a positive angle, so it'll go over. So A is out, B is good, C is out, D is good. So then I'll go 360 5 more. Just a sneeze above the x-axis. So between B and D, B is the winner. Okay, this one is negative, so I'm going to go under the x-axis. That's the direction that the terminal side will swoop. So if I'm here, I don't even go 180 degrees. So if I add 180, that'll be 20 degrees short of 180. So that's right there. So A is just a sneeze of an angle. B is a positive angle, and I've got a negative one. So that's out. C looks just like the one I drew. And D is a positive angle, so that's out. So that's how you know who's who in the coterminal angle world. Get that one. Get your reference according to either 360 or 180 or even 90, whatever you need. Okay, so this is under. So C is out and D is out. And 155, if I add 180, it's 25 degrees short of a negative 180 degrees. All right, so I'm going to go not quite 180. So that's how you know it's B instead of A. This one is a little over 90. This one's way over 90, closer to 180. Get the feel of the values there. Okay, number 16 isn't much of a challenge because it's on our unit circle. So pi over 6 is just 30 degrees above the x-axis. And that would be B. So you're allowed to use your unit circle. I'm good with that. I want you to get familiar with these angles and what they look like on the graph, for sure. 17, again, isn't too much of a challenge because it's on your unit circle. 7 pi over 6 comes down here in quadrant 3. So this is positive. So A is not a positive move. B is not a positive move. C and D are positive moves, but C goes too far. 7 pi over 6 is in the third quadrant. So D is our answer. So you can change it to degrees on those. That's not, if you really, really, really don't like radians, you could do that. There's no law against that. But 18, probably going to change it to degrees because it's a negative and there's no negative angles marked on our unit circle. You could probably find it. And I messed up on this one this morning too. Yeah, by trying to do rotations and stuff like that, that just didn't. Well, so plan B. I'm going to change this. Remember how to change radians into degrees, right? We take it times pi, 180 over pi, so the pi's cancel. 6 goes into 180, 30, and then 23 times 30 is, 690. I believe. Yep. So I'm looking for a negative 690 degrees. I'm going to go backwards. Here is 360. That is a negative 330 yet. I have to do. So I don't go a whole another rotation. Here is 180. Here is 270. I can add that to 270. So I have negative 60 degrees yet. So over halfway. There we go. So the only one with the terminal side that looks like that is A. Could you do that without me? Did that help to change it to degrees? That's 2 pi plus 2 pi, 4 pi. Yeah, I ended up in a positive situation and just wasn't smooth to talk about. Okay, 2 more. We call it a review. Okay, 2 pi over 3 is on our unit circle. You can go ahead and change it to degrees if you want. 2 pi over 3 is up here. So it's closer to the y-axis. So let's see which one. It looks like B. And if you changed it to degrees, 60, 20, 120 degrees. And that's on here too. You don't even, no, it's on there. It's less than 1 rotation, so it's no big deal. Okay, 2 pi over 4. That's it positive, and it's in the quadrant 3. So I'm looking for positive. A is not positive. B is positive in quadrant 3. C is not positive, and D is positive, but it's in quadrant 4. So B is the only one that fits the bill. Thank heavens. And it cuts the 5 pi over 4. Cuts the quadrant in half. Half of infinity, right? We're done. So hopefully you're feeling good about pacing yourself for the final, because the next ones then are just a matter of letting your calculator sing the song.